While I was using the toilet at school, a girl in the next stall asked, "Can you hop over in here? I need extra hands." Yeah, I don't think so. I wasn't about to climb into a bathroom stall with a freak. No, please, I think I might bleed out. Her voice was shaking, and suddenly this wasn't funny anymore. It was Summer from my English class, the pregnant senior who everyone whispered about but nobody really talked to. She was sitting on the toilet gripping the handicap rail with white knuckles, and her face was covered in sweat. "What's wrong?" I asked, even though I was starting to guess. "Please do something. I'm giving birth." She looked up at me with pure terror in her eyes. My whole body went cold. I was 17 and barely knew how tampons worked, let alone babies. But she was crying and alone, and I couldn't just leave her there. I hopped over the stall divider awkwardly and almost slipped on the wet floor. That's when I saw it. The baby was already crowning. There was blood on the toilet seat and the floor, and Summer was making these low groaning sounds that scared me more than anything. This was actually happening in a gross school bathroom with fluorescent lights and graffiti on the walls. "I'll be right back." I ran out of the bathroom still in shock. I sprinted down the hallway to Mrs. Bashar's classroom. She was my favorite teacher and the only adult I could think of who wouldn't freak out. I burst through her door, interrupting her lecture on photosynthesis. The whole class stared at me. "I need your help urgently, please." I was out of breath and probably looked insane. Mrs. Bashar took one look at my face and followed me without asking questions. We ran back to the bathroom and I could hear Summer's sounds getting louder. Other kids were starting to peek out of classrooms wondering what was happening. Mrs. Bashar pushed open the stall door and immediately went into teacher mode. "Okay, honey, I'm here. You're doing great. I'm going to support you while she gets the nurse." I didn't need to be told twice. I ran to the nurse's office faster than I'd ever run in PE. When I burst through the door, Nurse Patty was checking Casey's temperature. Casey, who everyone knew was Summer's boyfriend, the guy who'd been bragging about becoming a dad at prom. "Summer's having her baby in the bathroom right now." I basically screamed it. Casey's face went from white to green. He threw up all over the floor before Nurse Patty could grab a trash can, but we didn't have time to deal with that. The three of us ran back to the bathroom with Nurse Patty grabbing emergency supplies from her cabinet. By now, half the school had heard something was happening. Kids were crowding outside the bathroom doors trying to figure out what all the screaming was about. Teachers were trying to move them back to class, but nobody was listening. When we got back to the stall, it was chaos. Mrs. Bashar was holding Summer's hand while she pushed. The nurse immediately took over, checking how dilated she was and telling Summer to breathe. Casey stood frozen in the doorway, looking like he might pass out. That's when Summer grabbed my hand and pulled me close. "You have to get my boyfriend out of here. I can't tell him the baby isn't his. He won't like what he'll see." My cooter dropped. This was so much worse than I thought. But before I could process what she'd said, the nurse started chanting for her to push. And then the weirdest thing happened. All the kids crowding outside started chanting too. "Push, push, push," like this was some kind of twisted pep rally. I tried to get Casey to leave, saying he looked sick and should get air, but he wouldn't budge. He kept saying he needed to be there for his kid. His kid. I felt sick knowing what was about to happen. The baby came fast after that. One final scream from Summer, and then a different kind of cry filled the bathroom. A tiny baby cry that made everyone go silent. Even the kids outside stopped chanting. Nurse Patty wrapped the baby in paper towels since that's all we had. She handed the bundle to Summer, who was crying and shaking, and that's when everyone saw it. The baby was beautiful and perfect, but definitely black.